Hello and welcome back to another interesting analyst session by Vajiram and Ravi. Today we are going to comprehensively discuss 7 articles under 2 sections. These articles have been taken from the Hindu and the Indian Express. In section A, wherein we will analyze 2 articles in depth. First article deals with India-Saudi Arabia relations, brief history, significance of the relations, persisting issues and the way forward on the same. Second article is on one of the constitutional bodies, public service commissions. Relevant articles, their composition and various functions performed by them. Next in the section B, the simplified section, we will take another 5 articles along with the value addition part. This will help you in your upcoming prelims, so stay tuned. So coming to the first article of the day, which we'll read in depth, that reads with the Minority Affairs Minister, that is Minister Kiren Rijiju, is set to embark on a 5-day visit to Saudi Arabia. Now this is in regards to sign agreement regarding the Hajj pilgrimage, where we are intending to increase at least 10,000 of our pilgrims onto that pilgrimage. Now, regarding India and Saudi Arabia relations, we will first get into reading and knowing something about history, brief history, the relations that India and Saudi Arabia has seen over the years, and the significance of this relationship in both aspects of the countries, and what are the challenges. So beginning with the history, these diplomatic relations actually started way back in 1947. However, then over the years, we didn't see much significant development in the relationship. And in 1973, this relationship also witnessed and went through oil crisis. So to significantly term a milestone that we saw in this relationship was in 2006. What happened in 2006 was, that was a first by any Saudi prince, and he visited India in 2006. King Abdullah bin Abdul Aziz, he visited India. That was a first in 51 years, as I just mentioned, and he signed the Delhi Declaration 2006. In this, certain areas were prioritized and the cooperation was established. Some of those areas were energy, trade, science, technology, education, health, and political cooperation. Now, another milestone, which was another major milestone, it took place in 2010 in the form of Riyadh Declaration. These areas were further enhanced to include areas such as counter-terrorism, money laundering, narcotics, arms and human trafficking, defense, as well as economic cooperation. So, till this moment, we saw that areas were expanding, but another very significant moment came into this relationship during when PM Modi visited Riyadh in 2016, and again in 2018, these 2 premier heads of the countries met on the sidelines of G20 in Argentina. That happened in 2018, and these negotiations took place. Another we saw recently in 2023, the concluded G20 summit, PM Modi and Saudi Crown Prince Salman, he signed, and both of them agreed to Strategic Partnership Council. This was the biggest milestone in this relationship so far. So this is something about the history that both of these countries have developed over the years. Then regarding something into the significance of the relationship to both of these countries. India is also important to Saudi, and Saudi Arabia is very crucial for India's geopolitical as well as economic importance. So let's begin with, we'll first of all analyze from the angle of geopolitics. So geopolitically, you can see that there are major powers such as US, China, Russia, as well as European Union. And all of these blocs have been trying to develop important relationship with Saudi Arabia, increasing its global and political stature. So it becomes important for India as well, being one of the important and emerging economies, that it has to develop cordial relations with Saudi Arabia as well. Second thing is, it is also important for regional politics of Middle East, that is to say the West Asia, where India is, it lies to the neighborhood of India, especially on the western part. And when it comes to Middle East, it's not just Saudi Arabia, there are multiple actors, multiple countries that are involved, right from global countries such as US, China, Russia, as well as regional countries such as Saudi Arabia, Iran, Palestine, Israel, and other countries. Then we have China is also entering into this geopolitical arena by proposing, or it has taken initiative to reconcile the relations between Saudi Arabia and Iran. Now, if China assumes that important place in the regional security, or probably the regional aspect of these countries, then we have to come forward and assume our global stature also. So it becomes important for India to come ahead and take steps to improve this relationship with Saudi Arabia. And same applies for Saudi Arabia as well. Then second point is on the strategic importance. What are the basic terms that we include under the strategic importance? It could be from the defense aspect, it could be from the defense sector, defense cooperation, it could be the aspect of anti-terrorism or the campaign against terrorism that India is conducting. So, and there could also be the manufacturing and production of defense equipment. There could also be areas of anti-drugs activities, and also conducting certain naval exercises. So one of the significant naval exercises that is being conducted between these two countries is Al-Muhid Al-Hindi. And what is the significance of this? It tries to ensure and protect the world's important oil artery, that is the Strait of Hormuz. So you can remember, and this is very important, one of the very important straits that we have. It ensures the supply of oil, and it is not just important for the regional stability, but also the global stability, the supply of oil across the world. That being said, defense cooperation, there are again multiple joint military exercises, and we are exploring the possibility of development of joint defense production and equipments. Similarly, just like I said, there is a significant influence of Saudi Arabia over Pakistan. Now, this comes into the importance when India is trying to tackle and trying to fight the menace of terrorism. And most of the cases that India faces, whether it across the border or at the borders, it is coming from Pakistan, and some of these home-based terrorist groups are residing in Pakistan. So the cooperation of Saudi Arabia becomes crucial. This is regarding the strategic importance. Now coming to economic significance, that we will read from diverse perspective. Just to tell you that Saudi Arabia has gone ahead and launched its 2030 vision, or you can also say Vision 2030. The goal is for Saudi Arabia is to diversify its economy, because it's prominently based on oil-based economy and its exports. But since Saudi has realized this crucial dilemma during COVID-19, or even before that, it has come out with its vision to diversify its economy and invite and seek investment from across the world. Therein comes the importance and the role of India's technological development and assistance. And of course, the opportunity for Indian businesses wherein it can go and establish its businesses and companies in Saudi Arabia. It gives various opportunities for developing infrastructure as well. In the same way, we can also seek investment from Saudi Arabia. As we'll go ahead, I'll tell you what sort of sovereign fund has Saudi Arabia developed, and for which India also seeks investments. Second point is about the energy security. So at this moment, around 70%, in fact more than 17% of crude oil and 32% of LPG requirement, that is liquid petroleum, LPG's requirement, that we import from Saudi Arabia. So it's crucial for ensuring our energy security. Now that we seeing that there are US sanctions on the Iran supply of oil, that is why we are dependent on countries like Saudi Arabia, UAE, and other similar countries, including Russia as well. Like I said, we can also seek investment from Saudi Arabia, especially the sovereign fund that it has developed, and particularly in case of National Investment and Infrastructure Fund, which has been developed by the Indian government to seek investment across the world. So one source could be this sovereign fund developed by Saudi Arabia. Another point could be, and to give you one example, in Ratnagiri, Maharashtra, just in the same line of investment that we are seeking from Saudi Arabia and UAE has come forward and almost overtook 50% stakes in one of the oil production companies in oil exploration in Ratnagiri, Maharashtra, to the tune of around 44 billion US dollars. Then when it comes to trade between Saudi Arabia and India, Saudi Arabia is the second, India is the second largest trade partner of Saudi Arabia. And when it comes from India's side, Saudi Arabia remains the fourth largest trade partner. And there is a bilateral investment of about 52.76 billion US dollars. So you can note this data and use your to substantiate the arguments that you're putting in your answer. Now coming down to cultural significance. Like I said, our Minority Affairs Minister is visiting Saudi Arabia, in particular to this case, and he's seeking additional 10,000 pilgrims could also go there and visit the Hajj pilgrimage. Normally, almost over more than 1,75,000 Indians usually visit over here to attend this Hajj pilgrimage. Apart from that, when it comes to cultural significance, around 2.7 million Indian diaspora or people from Indian origin reside in Saudi Arabia. So it figures very importantly when it comes to India and Saudi Arabia relations and the welfare of the diaspora living there. And the remittances that we get from these diaspora living there, they send around 11 billion US dollars to the country, and the people and the livelihood on the families of their families living in India, they are also dependent on some sort of social expenditure, and their basic needs of education, be it healthcare or be it housing, get fulfilled by these remittances. So you can understand why this all cultural, geopolitical and economic significance is correlated, and how prominent is Saudi Arabia when it comes and when we start seeing from India's perspective. So this is about the significance of this relationship. Now there are certain challenges also. We have been seeing that there are persisting issues in this relationship. We have been trying to solve them via various initiatives, but for this moment, let's just see what are those issues. First of all, Middle East politics. Like I said, it is a complex arena, it is a complex region where multiple actors as well as global actors are involved. They have their own interests, they have their own sides, and India, being on its strategic path that India has chosen, it cannot take sides, but it has maintained a de-hyphening relationships with various countries based on their mutual benefits and agreements. So this remains complex and multidimensional for various, for example, with Israel, we have defense cooperation, we have agricultural, in the sector of agriculture, we have attained cooperation with Israel, whereas countries like Iran and Saudi Arabia, we continue with various defense exercises as well as oil import, apart from other things. Then in this region, we'll see that Saudi Arabia itself has rivalry with Iran on the one hand and Israel on others. So there are, even within this West Asian region and Middle East region, countries are not at peace. And this region, and as you can see from the ongoing example of Iran and Israel conflict. So this region remains always in highlight. Being India or being a spectator from India's perspective, we have to ensure that our relations with these countries remain beneficial from both sides. Then there is an angle of Pakistan factor. Like I said, Pakistan is an active supporter of terrorism and in fact remains the home and soil to various terrorist groups. Now, when it comes to Saudi Arabia, it grants various loans and aids to Pakistan. Pakistan, on the other hand, uses this aid to probably finance and acquire these weapons and conduct cross-border terrorism, which breeds terrorism and hatred towards India. That is why, in a way, the money that is being sent by other countries, including Saudi Arabia, is being used to invoke hatred against and towards India. Then affected counter-terrorism efforts. Even if we are trying to take counter-terrorism efforts, if Saudi Arabia is actively cooperating with Pakistan, it somehow defies the very logic. So that's why we have to bring on board Saudi Arabia as well, so that this menace of terrorism could be tackled globally, not just regionally. Then there is Nitakat program of Saudi Arabia, where in around 2011, Saudi Arabia decided to prioritize the employment of Saudis in the private sector. However, this did upset the large expatriate community that we have in Saudi Arabia, because many of the peoples have their livelihoods and money. They, like I said, they send money to their families back living in India, and that's how they survive and sustain. So these are, when it comes to economic angle, this is also one of the issues. Now, these are major key challenges that we are saying, and to give you overall gist of the issues that we are facing, you can see here, this is the location of India and this is Saudi Arabia. Here, you can again see that this is the Strait of Hormuz. I'll try to tell you in detail. Here you can see this is the Strait of Hormuz, and this is crucial for energy security of various nations, including our own country, that is India. Now, way ahead. What could be the way ahead and steps that India can take to improve these relations and solve these challenges that we are facing? So, first of all, diaspora. The diaspora of around 8 million. If we talk about the Middle East region and West Asia as a whole, we have around 8 million people residing there. So, it's not just about the diaspora of 2.7 million that is residing in Saudi Arabia, but overall West Asia, that we have 8 million Indians living there. We have to consider and formulate such policies which are labor intensive. Why labor intensive? Because in economic survey in 2021-22, it focused and emphasized and it underscored that one of the comparative advantage that India could find would be in the development and establishment of labor intensive industries, because India has excess labor and of course much of it remains skilled, or even with the traditional skills. So that's why we can develop labor intensive establishments. We can also ensure the policies remains in favor of both of these countries, so that there is a balance of Nitakat policy of Saudi Arabia, and also it works in the welfare of the expatriate community. But we have to mutually sit down and come out with those friendly and both sides favoring policies. Second is space cooperation. Saudi Arabia has very recently has entered into the space arena, and it has come out with its own space agency. Now is the time for the ISRO to come out with its expertise and the advantage of economy that it carries with itself. And now is the time when it can cooperate with this Saudi Arabia's space agency and conduct various space initiatives and improve the space cooperation. Then defense cooperation, like I said, we have been conducting various naval exercises, joint military exercises. The crucial weight and burden of ensuring global oil supply chains falls on the security and protection of these various straits. In one of those straits is Strait of Hormuz. So that's why it becomes important, and also it's crucial for maintaining sea lanes of communication so that there is free communication across these global lanes. So defense cooperation becomes important, not just to defy and probably prevent issues such as drug trafficking or piracy, but others as well, like maintaining energy security and global oil supply chain. Then we have to expand bilateral cooperation. There are certain areas which still which are still lagging, including IT, infrastructure and agriculture, startups and skilling. In these areas, we can go ahead and probably India and Saudi Arabia could work it out to share and work out with good case studies, good cases and expertise with each other. If we have to maintain peaceful and stable West Asia, which like I said, it has more than 8 million people of Indian origin. So it's not just in the favor of West Asia and the people and the countries lying there. It's also in the favor of India, because such a large diaspora is living in those regions. So we have to ensure that this region remains stable and peaceful. For that, we need cooperation not just of these two countries, but all other actors involved in this area. That could be US, that could be Russia, that could be Israel, or Israel being one of the active participants in the region, and China as well. So these are more or less way ahead and probably steps or measures that we can suggest when it comes to improving these relations. Now is the time for today's question. So discuss the key factors influencing the contemporary India-Saudi Arabia relationship and its impact on regional stability. Try to answer in this answer in 250 words and do answer this question. Now, next topic of the day, which is about one of the various prominent constitutional bodies that India has. that is Public Service Commission. Now we have different public service commissions at the union level as well as state levels. Each state has its own, or two or more, sometimes two or more states can also develop their own commissions. Now at the central or the union level, we have Union Public Service Commission, that is UPSC, and at the state level, we have various state public service commissions, that is SPSCs. So now the context and the background of this article is that Vice President Dhankar, he recently attended, there is one conference that was organized in Bengaluru, wherein all chairpersons of all state public service commissions participated, and he was emphasizing and underscoring the need for non-partisan appointments of these members, and also that these members should be working irrespective and without sticking to any ideology in the welfare of public, and their judgments and duties should not be affected by such ideologies. Now, to give you the background and the constitutional status, I would like to describe certain articles from the Constitution that relates to these services. So, first of all, what are public service commissions? They are under the Constitution of India. They are organized or have been discussed from Article 312 to Article 323. Specifically in Article 312, which mentions about all India services, and these services can only be developed or established by the Parliament. And there are various bodies like UPSC and SPSC. Now, UPSC, like I said, it works at the central and union level. SPSCs work at the state level for the similar functions. UPSC is the Central Recruiting Agency. It is another one of the independent constitutional bodies, and it comes under the Part 14 of the Constitution, which again highlights the Article 315 from 315 to 323. Now, why I'm saying again 315 to 323, all of these articles basically deals with the powers, functions, duties, composition, removal, and all of these provisions of these bodies. We will take these each one by one. And similarly, state public service commissions are also dealt with under the same articles, from Article 315 to Article 323. Now let's get in depth into these articles. To start with Article 315, it deals with the constitution of these bodies, whether it be UPSC or it be State Public Service Commission. So it talks about that under Article 315, UPSC has to be organized and developed and composed and formed under the union or the central level, and various State Public Service Commission for various states. Its appointment takes place at the central level, that is in case of UPSC, appointment is done by the President, while in case of State Public Service Commission, the same thing is done by the Governor of the state. Please remember this, sometimes in prelims they ask such questions and they can just change the option by, or maybe they can interchange President and Governor of the state if they are talking about UPSC and SPSC. Now, removal and suspension. This point again could be this something that aspirants generally tend to forget. The removal and suspension of both, be it UPSC members, chairmen, or State Public Service Commission chairmen and members. These all four things will be dealt with by the President. They will not be removed by the governor or of any state, but by the President himself or herself. So this you can again remember. This will help you in prelims. Then Article 321. Power to extend the functions. So UPSC and SPSC has certain functions, but what if at some point of time there are increased functions of these bodies? So there is a procedure for that, but it has to go through the Parliament or the various state legislature. Here Parliament has the power to increase these powers in case of UPSC, and state legislatures in the case of various SPSCs, that is State Public Service Commission. In that case, the role of state legislatures come in. Now, another point which is dealt with under Article 322, it talks about the expenses. Now, what do I mean by expenses? There are certain expenses which are incurred by these bodies during performance of their duties. So, all of these charges are dealt with under two of the funds. One could be Consolidated Fund of India, and another is Consolidated Fund of various states. Now, as you can guess, the Consolidated Fund of India, the expenses of UPSC is charged on Consolidated Fund of India, whereas the various expenses of different state public service commissions goes under the respective state consolidated fund of various states. So please remember that point also. Now with regards to reports, just a second. Now with regards to reports, first of all, these bodies, be it UPSC or State Public Service Commission, they submit these reports to the President or the Governor respectively, and then the President or the Governors of various states further submit these reports with a memorandum of writing or noting the cases where the suggestions of these various bodies have not been accepted, along with the reasons that why the recommendations have not been accepted to the various legislatures. Now, in case of UPSC, the report has been given to President, and President will lay these reports before the Parliament. And similarly, in the case of State Public Service Commission, it will go to the Governor of the state, who with the memorandum along with the cases and their explanations of not accepting those recommendations will lie before the legislatures of various states, that is the state legislatures. So remember this part as well. To make it easy, I have further described these in pointers also. So in case of composition of UPSC, that is at the central level or union level, the appointment takes place by the President of India, and the term is 65 years or 6 years, whichever is earlier. So this term of office is kept for all the members or the chairman. Then reappointment is actually ineligible, especially in case of chairman of the UPSC. Resignation, if any member of the chairperson has to resign, he has to write, he has to ensure and deliver this written resignation to the President. In case of removal, this is also the primary authority of removing these members or the chairperson lies with the President of India. And suspension, for suspension actually there has to be a reference from the Supreme Court, and then President can proceed with it. And for conditions of removal, there are 3 conditions. President can remove the chairman or the members, but there are 3 conditions for it. Either a member has to be an insolvent, or he is engaged in any paid employment outside the duties of the public service commissions during when he is engaged in as a member of the chairperson or member or the chairperson of the state public services. Or third reason could be any infirmity of the mind or the body. For these reasons, President can go ahead and remove these members. Conditions of service could also be changed and amended by the President, but there has to be one principle that has to be kept, that these conditions should not be amended to the discredit or disadvantage of the member. So yes, if let's say there is a question in prudence and they ask whether the conditions could be changed or not, you have to keep in mind if these conditions are going to benefit or they are further improving the conditions of employment, then they could be done, but not to the disadvantage of these members. Now, restriction of powers. Like I said, not to be amended after her appointment to the disadvantage of that member. Power to extend functions, like I have also repeated this and highlighted this before, that this power remains with the legislature. Parliament in case of UPSC and state legislature in case of State Public Service Commission. There are expenses such as allowance, compensation, salaries, that lies with the Consolidated Fund of India if we are talking about UPSC and Union Public Service Commission. Submission of reports happens to the President, which further President prepares a memorandum and he submits the reasons for non-acceptance and also the cases where the recommendations and suggestions have not been accepted before each house of the Parliament. So I am just, this is for your early revision and quick revision. This is regarding your UPSC. Similar provisions lie for the State Public Service Commissions also. There are certain and very precise differentiation. Please keep in mind that appointment goes to the Governor of the state, not the President of India. And here, term of office is 6 years, but the retirement takes place if the person achieves or requires 62 years of age, whichever is earlier. Then reappointment, again to the same office, the person remains ineligible. And resignation, again it has to be a written one to the governor of state and not the president, because we are dealing with SPSCs now, that is State Public Service Commissions. Removal on the order, yes, this is point, you have to highlight this. Again, removal only goes to the president and not to the governor. Conditions of service, president, he decides, but again, not to be amended after the appointment to the disadvantage of that person. Power to extend functions, it lies with the legislature. Expenses is charged on consolidated fund of the state. Submission of reports to the governor of state, which further prepares a memorandum and presented before the legislature of that state along with the reasons. So this was again with regards to state public service commissions. Now we will see that what are the eligible appointments after end of term of services. Now I have already said that for the same office, the person, whoever is appointed as a member or chairperson, he remains ineligible for the second reappointment to the same post. Now in case of chairman of UPSC, he is all through and thoroughly ineligible for any further employment under the government of India or the state. Then it comes to chairman of State Public Service Commission. However, this chairman could become or probably aspire for becoming a member of the UPSC or the chairperson or also the State Public Service Commission. Now, other members of UPSC, the constitutional body at the union level, other members of it could aspire to become a chairperson of the UPSC or SPSC. Similarly, other members of State Public Service Commissions, they could again apply or could be appointed as chairman or any other member of the UPSC or the SPSC. So remember this, they can frame a prelims question on this information as well. Now functions of UPSC and SPSC, they more or less have the similar kind of functions. So I'll just highlight in the broad sense for you. First of all, they conduct examinations for appointments to the various services to the union and state respectively. Second is, if let's say UPSC is requested or let's say several states put up a request to organize joint recruitment and to help them finalizing for any examination, to conduct any examination which requires special qualifications, then UPSC can also give assistance to various state public service commission. But remember, this only happens after there is a request by these states. Now, consultations with Public Service Commission. In various cases, this consultation becomes important. What are those few cases? It could be methods of recruitment. What are the methods that would be deployed to recruit these civil servants and for various and to various posts of civil posts. Then there is appointments and in promotions and transfers from one place to another depending on the suitability of various candidates. So remember that appointments, again promotions as well as transfers of these candidates, as well as methods of recruitment to these services, and specifically these bodies responsible for maintaining the disciplinary matters and dealing with these kind of matters, UPSC at the union level and SPSC at the various states level. And it also advises on any matter that could be referred by the governor or the president. In case of UPSC, the matter has to be referred by the president, and various state public service commission, this authority has been given to the governor. So these are few functions. Now, there is another clause of joint state commission, one specific provision of this, that this is not, this actually has been prepared by a statute. So it has been mentioned under Article 315 that whenever two or more states propose or give the resolution, with each state coming out with that resolution in its own legislature, then Parliament may, by law, can organize such joint state public service commission. So it remains a statutory body. So if in prelims, let's say UPSC asks what sort of a commission or what sort of constitutional body, or whether it is a constitutional body or not, whether it is a non-constitutional body, then you can say it is what? It is a statutory body formed by the law made by the Parliament on the recommendation and on the consent of various states, where consent has to be taken by each state passing its own resolution. Though in this case, appointment Remember, this has been dealt under Article 316. President of India makes such an appointment and not the governor, because multiple states are involved. Thereby, that's why President has been made the nodal authority for such an appointment. And 6 years, again the age limit is of 62 years. A member or the chairperson cannot cross that age. Resignation under Article 317, this is again has to be made towards the President. Powers, which has been mentioned under Article 318, President is the sole authority to mention different service of conditions for the members or the chairman of Joint State Public Service Commission. Then under Article 323, similarly, annual reports are presented to the governor and not the president, because these reports have to be published in various state legislature. Hence, governor has been kept as the authority to be presented with such reports. Then governor, along with the memorandum and the reasons for not accepting such recommendations, he and the various governors present those reports before various state legislatures. Okay, so these are few pointers regarding Joint State Commission. This was all when it comes to all of these state commission. This could help you in your prelims to form certain questions where they can trick you with certain provisions, and this could also come handy in your mains answer. So here's the time for solving this mains answer writing question. Discuss the constitutional powers and functions of the Union Public Service Commission, highlighting its highlight its major differences with the Joint State Commission. You have to answer it in 250 words. Please do write this answer. Let's proceed towards the section B of the day, which is the simplified section. And starting with the first article, as Kite Festival draws near, Terrace Tourism takes flight in Old Ahmedabad. So what is this concept of terrace tourism? And let's see how we can study under the GS1 and also GS3. GS1 of course is a part of culture, and since this is about tourism, specific type of tourism, we'll also deal it under GS3. First of all, terrace tourism, it's a new concept, it is an emerging concept, and it is aimed at utilizing the unused or underutilized rooftops. So remember the keyword unused or underutilized rooftops of urban spaces. This specifically meant for urban spaces. Why? Because we have a crunch of space when it comes to urban areas. And it could be used for tourism, it could be used for recreational activities and cultural promotion. So this is the gist of the why this terrace tourism is probably promulgated, and we have been experimenting with these tourists, and various state initiatives and various case studies and good examples we'll also see. But for now, you can just understand that it gained prominence as cities face space constraints, like I highlighted, and it through various innovative ways. It seeks to attract tourism and promote sustainability. See, if we can generate various types of these urban activities, we have to ensure that these remain sustainable. If these do not, probably for some time or for some temporary time, they can generate some income, but it can render the environment as well as non-permanent generation of jobs as well as money. So we would like to be it sustainable. It would also support the sustainable development goals of sustainable cities. Utilization of space rooftops could happen in various ways. Few of them could be restaurants, there could be establishment of cafes or food points, art galleries or open air theatres. Then those designs, like I said, have to be sustainable, have to be eco-friendly, have to use locally available material which is sustainable and also reduces the heat. Green roofs, solar panels and rainwater harvesting. These kind of activities could also be conducted on such roofs. Then this is one of the good way to promote local culture, various local traditions that do not find enough space in these urban areas. I think this could be one of the good ways to ensure that these local traditions, local cuisine and performance are not just conducted and prepared, but also being served as an opportunity provision towards other tourists. And another point is urban aesthetic enhancement. So beautification of rooftops is also another opportunity that you can use under the terrace tourism. This article specially deals that there is a Uttarayan festival coming. What is Uttarayan? It is when we celebrate Sankranti, Makar Sankranti in North India. Now the purpose and The phase, especially the time, is when the sun starts moving towards the northern hemisphere, and especially it enters into the Capricorn sign, or especially into the Makar Rashi. That's why we'll call it as Makar Sankranti, or as, like I said in English, we would call it as Capricorn. So from old Ahmedabad, we get it because annually there is a competition and there is a festival of kite flying, which has been, and you have also seen various movies where they coined the term Kai Poche. It means that I have cut the kite. So these kind of festivals are regularly and annually being organized in Ahmedabad, especially old Ahmedabad. Another prominent feature about this old Ahmedabad city is that in 2017, this has been recognized as one of the UNESCO World Heritage City. This could again be framed as one of your prelims questions. Then coming back to this festival, these 2-day festival of Uttarayan, intense kite flights take place on these rented terraces. So few of the people who have large terraces or who are capable of organizing these competitions, they keep these competitions with further and additional facilities, and there tourists come in and they play and get involved in all of these activities. So they also earn income, they also generate employment, and they also take to recreational activities. Now many of the travel firms have generated and have developed over the time, and now they have started offering range of packages to generate and to probably add substance to this terrace tourism. So this was the main gist of the article. Now as we read more about the terrace tourism, I would like to add something to it, that various Indians, not just old Ahmedabad, but various Indian states have taken initiatives in this arena, like Uttar Pradesh, Delhi or Rajasthan. Especially in Uttar Pradesh, you would see in Varanasi, many people have developed this kind of terrace tourism on their terraces. Why? And they are offering the views of Ganga Ghats, Ganga Aarti, and various cultural performances also. Then there could be organization and various yoga sessions, music concerts, but you have to keep in mind that space has to be enough. So, and folk art exhibitions. All of these sort of different activities could take place on terraces with given regulations in place and given safety precautions that are in place. Then Jaipur has another example which has put up terrace cafes with its own specific and particular cuisine that Rajasthani culture has to offer. There are various regional cuisine and showcasing local artisans also. So this has been several initiatives in the form of push that has been given by various Indian states. In this article, they say that by renting out their terraces, these house owners earn some money. Like I said, it becomes a source of livelihood or generating some money, while people also want to enjoy Uttarayan here. Do so with such packages. So whereas there are various tourism based packages which are being offered to the people who enjoy such kind of kite flying. Now what is the significance of this concept, what we know as by terrace tourism? First of all, it leads to better urban planning, urban development. Smart cities is a concept wherein we can use these terraces and our cities could become smart by reducing the probably congestion, probably utilizing the space in a better manner, and it could lead to sustainable development and achievement of sustainable development goal of sustainable cities and urban areas. It could also lead to employment generation, skills being diverse to these skill-based employers and employees. They can organize various kinds of jobs on local basis. They could generate livelihood. It can boost the economy. Then it is also about cultural preservation. These kind of local traditions are very well known in the local areas. Sometimes people from outside come there and enjoy and become a part of that culture. So there is a need to ensure that these cultures are preserved, and the modern ways of preserving it, one way of doing it could be through terrace tourism. And it also promotes Ek Bharat, Shresth Bharat, because this kind of festival generates unity of various sorts of people. They take part, they partake in these merry activities, they probably indulge in all of these games, and so in a way it promotes brotherhood and fraternity of our community. Then SDGs, like I said, particularly, especially Goal 11, which deals with maintaining and ensuring sustainable cities and communities, urban areas. This also leads and helps in achieving that SDG 11. Now, the next article, second article from the simplified section, which is about, which reads, the headlines reads that 4 arrested with pair of white rhino horns. So, what's important here is white rhino. It comes under the environment section, the biodiversity and the probably endangered species. So let's read more about this, what has happened. So recently, 4 people, especially in the Delhi region, has been arrested with the horns of white rhino. Now it is a crime under the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. So that's why there are consequences to it. Now let's read more about white rhino. Why? Because this could be one of the very important theme to be asked in prelims as well as in your mains. Now, white rhino has 2 subspecies and both of them are existing in Africa only. So, these has 2, like I said, 2 rhinoceros species. One is southern white rhino, second is northern white rhino. Southern is actually has a population of 16,000 and is not as endangered as the northern white rhino is. There are only 2 functionally existing species, 2 females who are existing in Kenya, and there are they are almost functionally extinct, and these these animals are living, especially females, in Kenya. So this tells that they are critically endangered. You have to remember their IUCN status. There are different types of rhinoceros, including great one-horned rhinoceros. Then there is Sumatran rhino, there is Javan rhino, there is black rhino, there is white rhino. I will take them one by one later on. But first of all, let's discuss the critical details about white rhinos. Now, what is a horn composed of? It is basically keratin, from which our hair, our nails are also made of. Then, unlike antlers, actually rhino horns can be regrown. If you see in case of deers and antlers, they are attached to the skull, and that's why there is a less probability of them being regrown. But in case of rhino, they could be regrown, and that's why they are more vulnerable and susceptible to poaching by the poachers. So these are few things. Then there are various uses also in traditional medicine, especially in case of Chinese medicine and Vietnam. These are used for curing certain diseases, including ailments like fever, hangovers, or even certain cases they say cancer, although some research and specific proven evidence-based research is required in those claims. Then it is also a status symbol for some people. They use as craft ornaments. They also are considered as a luxury item. So this is being considered under as a state symbol. This is the second use, and in third use you would see it's not exactly a use, it's probably an illegal activity, but poachers and horns are the primary reason for illegal hunting of rhinos, because they are sold at huge and massive prices in the world market, fueling, and there is a lucrative black market that exists for these kind of horns. This is the figure of white rhino, as you can see. And now conservation status. Please remember this, that this is the southern white rhino, which I said, which is around 16,000 in numbers. It is near threatened. So its endangered status is not as critical as the northern white rhino has, which is critically endangered, and only 2 animals remain in Kenya. It is almost functionally extinct. Then you can see, like I said, there is white rhino, there is great one-horned rhino, which exists in India, there is black rhino, and there is Javan and Sumatran rhino. These 3 are critically endangered: Javan rhino, Sumatran rhino, and black rhino. Also, in case of white rhino, like I said, there are 2 subspecies. One of them is again critically endangered, which is northern white rhino. The southern one is near threatened, and greater one-horned rhino is vulnerable. Please remember this. Now, threats. One could be habitat destruction, another is poaching, as I have already said, and there are low productive rates. When they are kept in captive breeding and they undergo such kind of breeding, their population reduces, their reproduction suffers. So that could also be one of the reasons. that act as a threat towards their conservation status. Now, what are the steps that have been taken at the global stage for preserving such kind of rhinos? So there is program Rhinos Without Borders, which engage local communities, because local communities are the best suited to protect such kind of animals. There is a symphony between, and the way they live with these animals work in both of their favors. Then there is also CITES ban. What is a CITE? It is Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Fauna, Wild Fauna and Flora. It is also known as CITES. So rhino horn trade is banned under it. Alright, you can read more about CITES, but just to tell you that white horned rhinos and their horns are included in this convention and their trade is banned. So this was regarding this article. Now I saw there was this recent advertisement in the Indian Express. I thought it was important because it was regarding RBI and one of the various integrate ombudsman scheme that RBI came out in 2021. And in this prelims or probably upcoming prelim, this question could be asked because this has been developed and launched by RBI. So this is regards or goes back to the governance section of your syllabus. To tell you, objective is to develop this integrated ombudsman under this integrated ombudsman scheme 2021. The objective was to provide a grievance redressal mechanism to customers, especially against banks and financial institutions, to the people. They can afford and they can access this cost-free, expeditious, which is time-saving and impartial mechanism for registering and resolving their grievances, where in the case of banks and financial institutions. Now, there are certain provisions that it has been developed by merging three earlier schemes. What were those schemes? There was Banking Ombudsman, there was NDFC Ombudsman, and there was third one, Digital Transaction Ombudsman. So RBI in 2021 merged all these three schemes and came out with Integrated Ombudsman Scheme 2021. And it was to provide a one nation, one ombudsman framework. Then it has a centralized portal. It do not have many portals, so there is no need of confusion and probably cooperation issues. There is only a one centralized portal. Customers can easily lodge their complaint at a single platform, which is known as Complaint Management System. Again, it is driven by the principle of deficiency service. No predefined grounds have been given, so customers do not have to worry and probably go through all of these provisions and the grounds that they would think that they can only register complaints in those cases. But it has been driven by deficiency in service. So any sort of service unsatisfaction, if you find that the service is unsatisfactory, you can register your complaint in there. Then it is also, first of all, you have to, but even before approaching to the ombudsman, you first have to approach the respective financial institutions, register your complaint there, and probably wait for 30 days. If within the 30 days your complaint gets resolved, it's fine. If not, then you can approach to ombudsman and register your complaint there. Now, certain exclusions are also there. Now, if any complaint is already in courts or in any of the tribunals, then you cannot approach ombudsman. Another is if the case involves a monetary limit which is beyond the mentioned limit in this scheme, then also those cases would not be entertained by the RBI Ombudsman. Then significance, why it is significant? Because like I said, it ensures customer satisfaction, customer friendly behavior, it ensures two-way feedback, it ensures financial consumer protection, ensures transparency also, enables accountability and generates the trust in the financial system. It contributes to inclusive banking and digital financial. If the people have the confidence in the banking system, they would probably take to more services. More services, they would also engage in digital transactions. If somehow their complaints are not registered and not addressed timely, they would probably not take to banking routes. So that's why it's important to ensure that their grievances are addressed. Now, the next article, which is about Sabrimala, and it's gearing up for Makaravilakku. What is this? This is nothing like in Northern Hemisphere or probably in Northern India, we are going to celebrate Makar Sankranti. Now, a similar festival is also gets celebrated in the South India. which is known by the Makaravilakku, especially in Kerala. And the deity is our Sabrimala. So in Kerala especially, this festival is being organized, and before the 41-day fast that happens before this, so at the end of 41 day, this festival is being organized, or is usually organized every year, which is known by the name of Makaravilakku. So here we'll read, it's an important annual festival. Where does it celebrated? It is celebrated at Sabrimala temple in Kerala, and there are millions of devotees every year. It is celebrated on Makar Sankranti, which is in mid-January, falls in mid-January, and it marks the transitions, the sun's movement into the Capricorn, that is the Makar Rashi. It coincides with the end of 41-day fast. So there is an observance of 41-day fast or 41-day Mandal Puja at the Sabrimala. When people do it, then after it, at the end of it, they observe Makaravilakku. A divine celestial light, which is known by the name of Makara Jyoti. On the Ponamba Malu Medu hill, there it is, this celestial light is seen on that hill, and it symbolizes the divine presence of Lord Ayappa, who is the deity at the Sabrimala. Then there are certain rituals also. You have to remember the names. This is Deeparadhan. So lighting of lamps. It is also held at Makara Jyoti, when the Makara Jyoti that lights appears. And then there is Thiruvabharanam. That means sacred ornaments of Lord Ayappa. So remember the meaning of these words and the rituals associated with Makaravilakku. When these ornaments of Lord Ayappa are brought to the temple from the Pandalam place during this time. So this is the ritual of Thiruvabharanam. Then devotees practice, like I have mentioned, there is a 41-day fast or austerity which is observed before Makaravilakku takes place, and many chant Swamiye Saranam Ayappa during the pilgrimage. So there are a few things and pointers that you can remember about this festival. Also the deity of Sabrimala, and because Sabrimala is an important religious place. Now significance, that it of course it holds huge religious importance. It is the divine legend of Lord Ayappa, who symbolizes piety, self-discipline and devotion. It also has an astronomical aspect. Why? Because this signifies the movement of sun towards the northern hemisphere and sun's transition to Capricorn into the Makar Rashi. This is also related to cultural and social unity. It brings together people from various regions, caste, religions also, and various regions. Then devotees share a sense of brotherhood and fraternity during this pilgrimage. So this is regarding Makaravilakku. Now the last article of the day, that India has joined UN Committee on Big Data for official statistics. So this is from international relations. What could be the key concept about it? What is the importance? What will it lead to? What is the benefits that India will get by joining such a committee? So let's just read deeper into this. First of all, this committee is United Nations Committee of Experts on Big Data and Data Science for Official Statistics. So Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation is the nodal ministry, and it will leverage the potential of big data and data science. So generate various forms of data and to come out with refined information. It is important to have source and access to big data and data science. That's why India has joined it, and it will enhance the authority and credibility of the official statistics that India uses or various ministries uses. Let's say if we have clear data, if we have credible and authentic data on certain things, that it's going to lead to evidence-based programs, their policies, implementation and better outcomes also. And it's related to every possible scheme that India is implementing or every program that India is implementing. Better data, better outcomes, because we can eliminate and probably exterminate the negative errors and probably improve on including the positive ones. It will also help in monitoring sustainable development goals. Why? Because India has a particular parameter and certain key metrics to measure the development and to measure the progress of development goals that India has achieved. Now with this joining, it will be easy for India to align its sustainable development goals, initiatives and parameters with those of the United Nations. India's membership will, in particular, will lead to, it will boost the statistical ecosystem that India maintains. It will lead to advanced data science research, advanced research and development, and probably better innovations. It will align the statistical system to monitor progress, like I said, of various SDGs as well. It will lead to various generation of various avenues for collaboration with other countries and organizations also. Probably exchange of best practices, good cases, good case studies, workshops and conferences, and it will also lead to capacity building initiatives wherever the areas which could be where India is lagging, they could take help of other countries, and where India has established the expertise, it could also disseminate those kind of activities and good cases, good case studies to other countries. Various methodologies, they could be improved upon, it could be made more inclusive. Then technological integration via various satellite imagery, via mobile phone data, Internet of Things. These technologies could be used to improve upon the data that we have, to probably arrange it and to probably use in those areas where we have not been able to use so far. Like I said, it will lead to improved and evidence-based policy making, governance, good results, good implementation, and good execution. So this was all for today. I hope this session was fruitful for you. All the best and thank you.